Hey guys, it's Edie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hope you're all doing well, and in today's video we are going to be doing my May reading wrap up. I think this month has been the month this year that I've read the least amount of books. I read 11 books this month, which is still a good amount. Any number of books reading each month is a good amount, but I just haven't had much time, and I took a few days off reading after finishing books because I needed the time off to finish them. But I've got my reading journal right here, so let me go to the month of May where I haven't filled my little statistics in. But anyway, I usually do that, but I haven't filled them in yet, so I'm just not going to do that to this month. But I'm going to go through all the books that were first on my May TBR, and if I've read them, if I haven't read them. So the first book on my physical TBR was Crossroads by Devoney Perry. Didn't read that. No reason why any of these books haven't been read, I just haven't had time to read them. Then the second book on my physical TBR for the month of May was On Wings of Blood by Bear Bolan, and this is the first book in the Bloodwing Academy. I did end up reading it, I really liked it, and this book basically follows Medra Pendragon, and she gets captured by these vampires because she just randomly turned up in this world, and they take her back to their place, and then she gets betrothed, I believe that's how you pronounce it, to this guy called Blake, who's a vampire, and then she ends up being enrolled in the Bloodwing Academy, which is this really high prestigious school for vampires. They have mortals, I think they have a couple dwarfs, things like that, and she is being told she is the last dragon rider left of her kind. There's no dragon riders left, they're all gone. There's no dragons either, but they still find a need for her and think they need her for something. This book is just following her trying to figure out where these dragons are, if there's any left, and kind of the relationship that goes on between Blake and Medra, and I just absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. I ended up giving this book a 4.5 stars because I just had a time of my life. I found my new obsession while I was reading this. This book has dragons, vampires, and the tension between Blake and Medra. It was just chef kiss, and it did take me a couple of days to read this book, but if I had the time I would have literally read it in one sitting, because every time I picked it up I didn't want to put it down. There were so many things happening. The storyline was really good, I found that really intriguing, really entertaining, and I found the ratio to plot and romance in this book was really good. Sidetracking from the books that were on my physical TBR for the month of May, I'm going to just quickly talk about the second book in this series that I ended up reading this month, which is The Bond That Burns by I don't know if I'm saying the name right. Bear Bolan? That's what I'm going with. And I ended up giving this book a 5 stars because how it just carried on for the series was literally just phenomenal. And I literally devoured this book. I read it in 2 sittings in 2 days because every time I picked it up I just couldn't put it down. It was exactly the feeling I felt when reading the first book in this series. I just love the characters, I love the storyline, I love this world, and there were so many twists and turns, and the twist at the end, the thing that happened, I was in tears and I was so shocked, and I just really need the third book in this series. But I believe this series is getting republished because it is originally at the moment an indie published series, but the third book was going to be coming out this summer sometime, but now I have to wait till I believe it's next year, which I'm not too pleased about, but it's really good that it's got picked up by a publisher, but I need the next book now. And can I wait till next year? No, but I'm going to have to. The third book on my physical TBR for May was Bourbon and Lies by, I can't remember who it's by, but I've got the cover up here on the screen. Then the next book that was on my physical TBR was In the Weeds by B.K. Borison, and this is the second book in the Love Light Farm series. I ended up giving this book a 3.5 stars, and this book follows Evelyn and Beckett. Evelyn is this social media person, and she goes around to different I guess businesses, small businesses, and just promotes them on her Instagram. I believe it's Instagram, I'm not sure. But she just brings lights to small businesses, and she's almost, you could say, maybe sort of travel influencer as well, because she goes all over the country to do this. And in the first book in this series, she comes help out Love Light Farms with social media, getting them more people to come over for the Christmas time to buy trees and things like that. So you already get introduced to her in the first book in this series. And this book follows her, and basically she's just not happy with the job she's doing. She doesn't really want to post on social media anymore. So she's like, I want to take a break, she tells her management. And she just thinks, where was I last happy? And that's when she thinks, I was last happy at Love Light Farms. So she goes there. And this is in the blurb and in the first chapter of this book. and I believe it kind of get hints at in the first book in this series, but Evelyn and Blake actually have a little history. They had like a little one night stand, I believe, like before even the first book in the series, I want to say, and it was when they were both away. It wasn't at Love Life Farms, it's when they weren't away. Evelyn was doing something to do with her social media, and somehow Beckett was there, and they had a little fling for one night, and it didn't end up on very good terms because one of them just kind of ran away. But this is their story. I did like it. It's not a favourite of mine. Like, I don't really remember too much about this book because it was like, I can't even remember when I read it, but it was alright. Didn't hate it. And one thing I actually do remember is my star rating would have been higher, but there was big miscommunication in this, and that just really annoyed me and bugged me. So that's why my star rating is a 3.5 stars. The next book is The Woven Kingdom by Tahara Mafi. I didn't end up reading this one. And the final book on my physical TBR was The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. And I believe when I done my, what's it called, May TBR, I got a prompt that said, pick a book that you've had on a previous TBR that you didn't read, something like that. And that was that book. Still haven't read it, but it's nothing to do with the book or anything. I just, like I said, for all the others, I just didn't get time to pick any of them up. All the other books I'm going to be doing reviews on, I didn't have on my physical TBR. So the first book is A Flight by Paisley Hope, and this is the first book in the Skyridge Hot Shots series. And I ended up giving this book 3 stars. This is a firefighting romance, and this book follows Callahan and Prescott. And Callahan is one of, I believe he must be I think he's the captain on like the firefighting team, because this firefighting group, they go fight wildfires. And I believe Prescott, if I remember, she is like a paramedic, I want to say. She's something like that. I can't really remember much about this book, but that is what I remember. And I remember them not really liking each other until something from Prescott's past came up and got brought back up. Because I don't believe she's originally from this like small town. I think she moves here and then her past catches up to her. I feel like that was really bad at explaining that, but I've read this right at the beginning of the month and I can't remember much about it. Let me actually just look at what I put on my Goodreads. What did I say about it? I basically said this is a cute and smutty firefighter romance set in a small town. I did like this book. It's not one of my favourites. And I did say this book is kind of like instant love. And apparently there was a miscommunication for 50% of the way through this book, and I wasn't the biggest fan of it. That's basically what my Goodreads review says of it. I would recommend it because it's not a bad book, it's just not one that's going to stick with me. It wasn't straight after I read that book, but I thought I might as well say the next book now because it's the second book in the series, and it's Project by Paisley Hope, and it's basically the same another guy on the firefighting group. And I gave this book 3.25 stars because I did like this one a tiny bit more than the first one in this series. And this book is basically like a brother's best friend, and the FMC, what's the FMC's name? Oh god, I've forgotten. I actually remember reading this. I think I'd done a reading vlog on this because I kept saying, is her name Violetta or Violet? I was going with Violetta, but I'm not sure. But she's a single mum, and she was originally living in a city with the father of the child, and they ended up getting divorced and separated. So Violetta and her daughter came back to the small town. Can't think of what the small town's name is, and just to be close to her parents and have a bit of help. And way before this book happened, her twin brother died, which her twin brother is Rowan's best friend, which is Rowan the MMC in this book. I feel like I'm making this complicated than it is, but essentially it's kind of a best friend brother, single mum trope. When they were younger, they had a thing, and something happened. It was something that happened kind of to her twin brother and Rowan's best friend that caused them to break up, but she didn't know what happened because Rowan didn't tell her basically. So it is a second chance romance because right before the thing happened, that when they were younger they were starting to like think about, oh, I like you, would you like to go out? This is when they were teenagers, but it just kind of fizzled out, and then they reconsidered it when they were older. So it's a second chance romance. I did think this was cute. It wasn't anything extraordinary. I really did like Rowan in this book, especially with how he was towards Violetta's daughter. He was just like the sweetest and most wholesome person, and I didn't like the first half of this book as much as the second half, because the second half is when the romance actually started to kick in. So the next book I read was Hothouse Flower by Krista and Becca Ritchie, and this is the second book in the Sister Calloway like series, but it's the, I want to say, is it fourth or fifth book in the like Addicted / Sister Calloway series? Because basically it's two series but you can read them interconnected, and this, yeah, I think it's the fifth one, I want to say, and this is the first book for Ryke and Daisy's story. I absolutely loved this book so much. I gave it 4.5 stars. I'm really trying to like think of how to describe it, but I don't really know how to describe it. It's basically, they're both like from, I guess you could say, rich families, and it's kind of just drama based really. It's very character driven, so if you don't like character driven books you might not like this series, but I love character driven books. I wasn't sure before I started this book how much I'd like Ryke and Daisy, because you get them snippets of them in the first 4 books, and I love Lily and No from the series, and I was like, nothing can top them. Ryke and Daisy might just do that, because it was just so good. It was so much fun. It was heartbreaking at the same time, because this does touch on a few tough subjects, because Daisy's just turned 18 and Ryke is a bit older than her, so you could say it was an age gap romance. How old is Ryke? He's 25 and Daisy's 18, so it is a bit of an age gap, and they've kind of always liked each other, but Ryke has never progressed on that, because Daisy was underage. He was like, nope, can't do that, and in this book it's finally him giving into that, you could say. And I absolutely loved Ryke. He is literally so kind to Daisy, and he literally is there for Daisy throughout this whole book, and I love Daisy so much. She is literally the sweetest soul, and she just deserves everything in the world. And like watching her grow throughout this book, because at the beginning of her book her mother like very much bosses her around, especially in like the first couple of books in this series, and getting to the end of this book and watching her be able to stand up to her mum was just everything like I wanted, and I was just like so proud of her. And there were quite a few times that this book brought tears to my eyes, because it is quite emotional with some of the things that has happened to Daisy and things that have gone on for them, and I just love this series so much. It's got a special place in my heart. So the next book I read was Vow of the Shadow King by Sylvia Mercedes, and this is the second book in Bride of the Shadow King series, and I ended up giving this book a 4 stars because I really did like it. I can't really say too much about it because it's the second book in a fantasy series, but it basically follows, I always struggle to say the FMC's name, Fierani and Vor, and basically Vor is the I guess, would he be the king of the, like, Fae people? And to bring these two worlds together, the regular humans and Vor the king, they've decided to do a marriage between one of the princesses of the king in the human lands and Vor. One of I'm not going to try and pronounce her name, gets selected to be the one to do it, but something happens and she doesn't end up doing it, so Fierani ends up doing it and ends up marrying Vor. That's basically a sum up of, not a sum up of the first book, but almost like a blurb synopsis of the first book in this series. And I really loved the way the author describes everything in this book. It made me feel like I was actually in this world, and I thought everything was beautifully written and described. And the slow burn between Vor and Fierani, I am really butchering her, was so good, and just the build up towards them actually like confessing their feelings to each other and letting themselves be with each other was just so worth the wait. And I really did like the last 150 pages in this book, and what happened at the end I was a bit like in shock. And I am really excited to pick up the third book in the series, and I believe that would be the last one because I believe this is just a trilogy. The next book I read was Off Track by Isha Patel, and I gave this 2.5 stars. And this book follows Diana and Miguel, and they're both in the Formula 1 world and they're both drivers. I've done a full video on this book and the next book I'm going to be talking about in this video, so if you want to see the actual in-depth thoughts and feelings you can click on here and watch me do that. But I can't really remember much about this because I've done this in a video of choosing the highest and lowest rated books on my physical TBR according to Goodreads, and I didn't particularly like it. And there was moments throughout this book I did like all the drama and the racing. I really did like that. And I do like slow burn romances, but I feel like this just wasn't, because I feel like there was just not much romance in this book. It was a lot focused on racing. So maybe if you do watch Formula 1, you might like this book, but for me, I haven't really watched Formula 1, so I didn't really vibe with it. But because they didn't really, I don't think they kissed until 250 pages in of a 300 or 350 page book or something like that. So to me, that wasn't really slow burn. It just, and there wasn't no build up to it in a sense to me. And when they were romantic with each other, I just didn't see the chemistry, and I just couldn't see them together. And I found myself just skim reading quite a lot of this book, because I don't really know, I just wasn't vibing with it. I've just had to open my bedroom window a bit, so if you can hear noises from outside, I'm sorry about that, but I'm literally boiling hot. For whatever reason, I decided to wear jogging bottoms, but I can't be able to go find something else to wear out my wardrobe, so I'm just going to carry on like this. But anyway, the next book I picked up was Poppy's Choice by Dilly Court, and I read that in the same video as the previous book I've just talked about. And this is basically like a Regency romance where Poppy is being targeted by a blackmailer, and then she goes to this guy called Edward for help, and he basically helps her, and then they end up falling in love. And I feel like that the other one, this book wasn't really a romance. I'd say it's more of a drama, because there wasn't really that much romance. Did I say what I rated it? I don't think I did. I rated it as 3 stars because I didn't particularly dislike much about it. I just didn't love it. I did really like the drama in this though. I thought that was really interesting. The plot was quite interesting. And one thing that did kind of bug with me was like only after 3 times of like interacting, the FMC and the MMC, the mother of the FMC, yeah, she was like, oh my god, you're in love, you love him so much, blah blah blah, something like that. I can see you together. And I was like, really? They've interacted 3 times. That kind of, I was just a bit like, huh? But overall, it's not a bad book. I didn't hate it, it's just not a favourite. So the next book I actually ended up DNFing, and that was Never by Jessa Hastings. And I really hate that I DNF'd this, but I just couldn't get into the story. And this is basically like a Peter Pan retelling. And I love Jessa Hastings writing, because I love the Magnolia Park series, so I kind of had like maybe high expectations going into this, but I think I got to 100 pages in and I just couldn't do it anymore. I feel like I might give this book another go. I might listen to it on an audiobook, because I'll be able to do something else while listening to it. I might get along with it better, I don't know, but it wasn't like a hard DNF where I'm like, I'm not going to try and pick this book up again. I might later on in life, that sounded a bit weird, but maybe in like a couple months I might try again and pick it up, but it just wasn't for me at this point of time. So the next book I read was Rewind It Back by Liz Tomforde. Before this, I was calling Liz Tomforde Liz Tomforde, and then I saw a video on TikTok, I was like, huh? But then it kind of makes sense because there's an E at the end, so it's Liz Tomforde, I think. See, I'm not sure. I'm terrible at pronouncing names, as you all know, but I ended up giving this book a 5 stars because this is the last and final book in the Windy City series, which is literally so upsetting and so heartbreaking. And this is Hallie and Rio's book, and this is a second chance romance essentially. And Hallie basically moves in with this girl that she knows, and she helped design this girl's home, because Callie's like this, like Hallie. I'm sorry, but her name's Hallie, not Callie. She's like, I guess you could say, I guess she's an interior designer, and the person she moved in with is none other than Rio's next door neighbour. So it's also a next door neighbour sort of vibes. And they practically grew up with each other. Maybe, I think they might have been like 13 when they first met, and they've been like best friends up all through like 13 to, I think everything went down between them, and they like kind of broke up when they were maybe like 19, 21, that sort of age, I want to say. I feel like I'm doing a really bad like job at describing this, but I loved it so much, but I'm like, I don't know how to get my words out of how to describe it, because you follow the 2 sort of timelines. You follow a timeline of when they were like kids and how their relationship started and how it progressed and eventually how it fell apart. And you're also following the timeline of in the present. Oh, I just also remembered that Rio is wanting to either sell his house or move away because he's thinking, do I want to stay in Chicago? Do I want to go home to Boston to be with my mother? That's practically what he's thinking. And his house is completely blank. It's like white walls, not much character. So he lists none other than Hallie to like design his dream house, essentially. This was one of my most anticipated book releases of the year, and it was just everything I wanted and more. I laughed so many times, I cried so many times, like I was kicking my feet, giggling. I was feeling all the emotions throughout this book, and it just didn't disappoint me one bit. I'm finally getting Rio's book after seeing him in the 4 other books, and it was just so good. I loved it so much, and just seeing him finally be happy and finally find love was just everything to me. And because you get to see him throughout the first 4 books of this series, I was already quite attached to him as a character, but I grew even more attached to him in this because you just found out so much of why he is the way he is. Because in the first like 4 books he's very much like no to relationships and things like that, and you kind of find out in this, and it was just everything. And you never get to meet Hallie, or she's never really talked about in the first 4 books in this series, because Rio literally refuses to tell anyone or talk to anyone about Hallie. Doesn't mention her name, doesn't talk to anyone about her, essentially. So I was a bit like, didn't know what to expect from Hallie reading this book, but I loved her. She was so sweet, she was such a strong character, and I just loved how she was there just for her family, for everything that was going on for them. Because this is a second chance romance, they do have a lot of history together, and throughout the book you can kind of start to maybe get ideas of what could have broken them up, and I had a little theory going of what happened and what broke them apart the first time, and I was correct. But that still made it sad, and I feel like maybe it was more heartbreaking because I kind of saw it coming, but it still broke my heart because it was just so sad. And I think because I was just loving the characters so much, that's why it was just so sad to me. And the romance in this book was so good, and that scene, the first time Hallie and Rio saw each other after 6 years of not seeing each other, the tension in that scene, I just remember it, and they were just stood staring at each other like it was just so good. I feel like nobody writes found family in a romance book like Liz Tomford. Like everything about this like found family is just everything to me. Like the family dinner nights they have, how they're all there for each other, and it's just so fun to see, and they never fail to make me laugh. My camera did end up overheating, so I had to take a little break, but I'm back. What I do remember, the epilogue in this book, Rio has this like inner monologue, and that inner monologue had me crying because it was just the perfect way to end this series. And the way he was just describing everyone and the couples, and it was just so cute, and I just love this book. I love this series so much. If you're looking for not hockey romance, because this is a hockey romance, they're not all hockey romances in this series, but if you're just looking for a new sports romance series that has really good found family, look no further and read this series. The final book I read in May, Release in 10 by Chloe Walsh, and I am just so sad from this book. I finished it yesterday and I just don't have words. Well, I had a lot of words because I did film myself reading this book. I am still trying to decide if I'm going to put it in its own video or put the reading vlog in doing book stuff for the like month. But it will be posted after I've posted this, so I'm not going to go full in depth. This is Huey and Lizzie's book, and it's kind of like a childhood best friends, and then they end up being boyfriend and girlfriend when they're teenagers, and then something happens when they are like 15, 16, 14, which causes them to break up essentially. And this is the 6th book in the Boys of Torment series, and this series follows like a group of friends and all the trauma they've been through, and it does detail all the events quite detail-y, is that even a word? And it is set in like early 2000s in Cork in Ireland. It's just, this series is just everything to me. I absolutely loved this book. It broke my heart and ripped it apart so many times, because if you haven't read this series, I'm not going to really explain too much of what happens because I don't want to spoil it, but essentially something bad is really happening to Lizzie when she's like really young, because this follows Lizzie from when it starts from when she's like 3 years old to up around, I think she's like 14 or 15 at the end of this book, and it very graphically describes things that someone had done to her. So check trigger warnings before reading this book, because some people are very disturbed and think it's very graphic. Yes, this book is very graphic. Yes, it's very heavy. Yes, it touches on very sensitive topics. But I feel like Lizzie's story needed to be told, and I did give this 5 stars. I am a bit conflicted on giving it 5 stars because of the topics it touches on. I'm like, should I be giving this 5 stars? It did make me feel a lot of emotions. And Huey in this book, oh, he was just so there for Lizzie while she was going through everything, because Lizzie has like mental health problems, and the way he was just there and supportive, and even after everything went down with them when they were like teenagers, he still was like, when something happened to her, he still went to see her to see if she was alright. And that just shows the kind of person Huey is. He was just like Lizzie's just support, because her family throughout this book were like, she's crazy, she's crazy, but Huey was just there for her, and it was just so sad. But then it was really nice seeing Huey like that. But I feel like I could go on and on, but I did really like this book. And if you do want to see my full in-depth thoughts and feelings on this book, it'll be coming in sometime in June, so keep an eye out for that. But I literally spent 15 minutes of rambling on when I finished this book this morning, because I finished it last night and I was sobbing. When I tell you I've never cried at a book ending like that, I haven't. The way it ended, it was kind of bittersweet, because it was happy, but then at the same time it was sad. So take that with what you will, but I am very, very excited for the next book. Don't know when it's coming, don't know if it is going to come, but I just feel changed after reading this book. If I listen to like songs that were mentioned in this book, I end up crying still. And even thinking about this is making me want to cry. But I need to stop this here, because I could ramble on and on about this book. But I'm just going to stop now. So if you do want to see my full thoughts, do keep an eye out for that video that's coming. So that is everything for today's video. I do hope you enjoyed it, and in the comments below put which book was your favourite book you read in the month of May. Mine has either got to be Rewinding It Back, no, not Rewinding It, Rewind It Back by Liz Tomforday, or it's got to be Releasing 10 by Chloe Walsh. Those were 2 pretty phenomenal books, back to back, 2 5 stars. Like, they were everything to me. But yeah, if you haven't already, do subscribe. So if you do want to see the Releasing 10 like reading vlog that I've been doing, you will be able to see it. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.